You're listening to the KB Podcast Network. Hello, friends. You're listening to Supernatural Living with Beth Packard. I have gotten some of the best feedback this last week from all of you listeners. I'm so excited. It really is encouraging to hear back from you guys and to hear how these podcasts are helping you and inspiring you and motivating you to do better and to follow in your calling and to just step into the destiny that God has placed on your heart and in your lives. And I just want to thank you, those of you who have reached out and have given me some feedback that really is encouraging, and it helps me to continue to press in on this and just be excited about sharing my heart and where God's taking me and where He's leading me personally. It shows me really that I'm not the only one that's going through these things. And I know that in my heart, but I love to hear that feedback. So I just want to thank you guys and encourage you to continue to do that. Continue reaching out to me. You can follow on Facebook at Supernatural Living with Beth Packard on my page. You can email me there. You can message me. I really enjoy that. You can rate and review on the podcast platform that you're listening on as well. And just share what's going on. Give me some comments and ideas of what you want to hear in the future. That is so helpful. We have had, oh goodness, just company all weekend, and we had some meetings this weekend at our church, and it was just so wonderful to have the fellowship of other believers and those around us that are just like-minded, and that we can just ask questions with brothers and sisters in the Lord who are excited and on fire for the Lord and just giving us great feedback as well. And, you know, community is so important, and it's so exciting to have that and to be able to just shoot ideas around and hear what God's doing in other people's lives. I know at the same time that God's doing really amazing things in our lives, He can also be pruning us, and He can be giving us the same challenges and issues that are going on. And so even that is encouraging. I know that's some of the feedback that I've gotten, is that it's nice to know and hear that you're not the only one going through things. I'm not the only one that's going through things, and that God really is pruning us all, and He's teaching us, and He's showing us different things. And maybe it's just that the enemy's just coming in and poking and prodding in different areas, and just learning how to get through those things quicker. We can get so much help from listening to others who've gone before us and who have conquered those mountains. And I was sitting here and I was thinking of how to really just press in more and just share my heart on those things, because like I told you last time, that things just have been kind of challenging in the last month or two, but there's always light at the end of those tunnels. There's always a thing that God's teaching us and showing us through those times. And I laid down on Saturday, I think it was, between meetings, and I just turned on some soaking music. I was listening to Graham Cook, a soaking session that he has. And for those of you who are like, what's she talking about? Soaking, like just kind of listening to scriptures being read. It's just sweet music and scriptures being read, and just like identity, truth being spoken out over. I just put my headphones in and just laid down and took about an hour and just rested in the finished work of Jesus, basically, instead of striving and being concerned about the troubles of the day and all the things that needed to be done. I just laid down and took a rest and just soaked in Him. I soaked in the Holy Spirit, and it was so amazing. And I don't get to do that very often. I love to do things and be busy. And so I just felt like the Lord told me to do that. And I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I sat up in bed and I had this realization, like this aha moment with the Lord, where I had actually been in this exact place. I had been feeling the same things that I was going through on that day. And in a way, it was like I just faced this same mountain that I had faced several years ago. And I was asking the Lord, like, why am I dealing with this? Why am I up against this exact same mountain again? And I felt like as I sat up in bed that day that he just said, like, how are you gonna handle it this time? Like, are you gonna sulk and be pathetic? And I mean, God didn't ask me if I was gonna be pathetic, but like that's the way I look at it, just cry and feel sorry for myself and all this stuff. Or are you gonna remember the truth of like how he walked me through that last time and what was the victorious steps in getting through that? And so I remembered the exact day that it took place. I didn't really remember like what year it was, but I went back and I grabbed a journal from that time and I searched through it and found when I remember that same instance happening. And I was searching for like, what was it that broke? Like, what helped me get through that funk that I was in during that time? And I found it right away. I found the exact journal and just opened up to it. And I was reading just what God had spoken to me then. And it was so incredible. And I just want to share that with you. Just a little piece of what God's spoken to me and a little piece of his heart. I know someone had asked me to just share some of those like moments where I knew the Lord was speaking to me and what he was sharing with me. And so this is one from years ago, but it came back up and was kind of a reminder of how to not go around that mountain again, but to crush it and to just walk right through it. So I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to share a little bit about what was going on. And I felt like the Lord was showing me through the trials that I was going through years ago that he is always present. He's always with us. He's always ready and he's always available to help us and come to us. But what I tend to do sometimes, I obviously haven't done it for a while, but I was back at this place where I had just tried to do so many things in my own strength, and he was right there wanting to help me. And he was saying, like, just turn to me, like, just ask me, just reach out to me, and don't forget all the things that I'm doing in the background. Like, I'm operating in so many ways, and I'm making so many things right and clearing the path, and I'm doing so much for you. And sometimes you forget that I'm here and I'm doing all of that because it's not a huge thing out in the front, but all those little things that he does in the background that sometimes we take for granted and we don't think about and we don't thank him for. And so I just stopped that day and I just thanked him. I went back and just readjusted, like what my thoughts were on. And instead of thinking about all the things that were in my own life, just irritating or whatever was going on, like what was going on there, like how's that make him feel when we forget about all the work that he's doing behind the scenes and what he's doing in our lives, and we don't give him the glory and the honor that he so deserves. And so I just repented and just thanked him and spent a little time just like worshiping him and just sharing with him like that I do appreciate that, and that I do I want to continue to honor him for those things. And so I guess if I can just help you in any way, if you seem to be coming around and going through the same battles with something, like you've dealt with this in the past and here it is again, like, why is that happening? I believe that the Lord's just seeing, like, it's like a test, in school, how like each year you learn the same things, but it's like a little bit more challenging. Like, that's exactly how life is. Like, each year as we go around, like he's going to show us the same things. We're going to learn the same lessons, but it's going to be a little more than what we learned the year before. And so like when I felt this come upon me, I was like, I've done this before. Like, I'm not going to go through like weeks of feeling all this junk. Like I'm not doing that. And so I believe that he's just purifying us on a deeper level each time that comes around. And so I remembered immediately, I dealt with this, go back to it, see how he had, we had worked it out. Him and I had worked it out in the past season. And honestly, that's why I love journaling. That's why I think it's so important for us to journal and write our prayers out sometimes, because we can go back and we can see. I love to go back and see the ways that the Lord has shown up and he's been there for us, and he's answered those prayers. Because if it's not written down, sometimes we forget that we even ask, and we obviously aren't going to be able to give him the credit for answering our prayers if we don't even remember that we ask him for those things. And so when I'm able to go back into my journal and see that, I can literally give him all the glory. And I believe that one of the most important things that we can do is honor him and give him the glory for what he has done in our lives. If we're not going to honor, what he is doing, then, and not be thankful for what he's doing, what are the odds that he's going to continue doing those things? Like that's just a heart of thanksgiving towards him, and a heart of just loving and honoring him. And it goes the same for people in our lives as well. But for sure with God, like we've got to get to a place where we honor what he's done in our past. And as we do that, it's going to bring more, and it's going to increase. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're going through some of the same things you've gone through in the last season, it's okay. It's not that you failed in the last season. It's just that God wants to teach you even deeper, a deeper revelation, a deeper truth with that. And the sooner and the faster that you catch it and you deal with it and you successfully like plow through that and crush that mountain, the better off you're going to be. And so don't wallow in it. Don't wallow in it, and don't be looking at the problem like it's unreachable and it's unattainable. Because like I shared, like every problem that we have has a provision attached to it. And so if you missed that last week, go back and listen to last week's podcast about every problem having a provision. It was really encouraging. I love that whole idea and that concept that every time a problem comes up, we have the provision for it. It's right there. Like in this case, this is an example of that. In my journal, I went back and I found what the provision was, what it was that would set me straight in this feeling that I had in the situation that I had gotten myself into. And so I just encourage you to be looking for the provision with each problem that comes towards you, and not to forget to honor the Lord in all that he's doing, in the small things, those around you. It's so important to honor those around you for the stuff that they do, and just encourage them and edify them. I was encouraged so much this week by the feedback again, and it's amazing what some encouragement and affirmations do from people that are just around you in your everyday life. And it's not that we want to get we don't need to be edified by other people, but it sure is helpful in spurring us on to do greater things and encourage others when we know that we're on the right path and we're doing what God's called us to. And so I encourage you to continue to do that. Reach out to somebody today that has just blessed you and just love on them. You can just send them a card or send them an encouraging word, or if they're in ministry, I just encourage you guys to reach out to those people in ministry around you and just give them a pat on the back. Just tell them you love them and you honor them and you thank them for the work that they have done, because it's hard. You know what? It is really hard. And I just want you to know that you're awesome. And if you want others to honor you, you need to share that honor. Pass that seed, and plant that seed in others of honoring them. And if you want to be seen and noticed for the things you're doing, you need to honor others. And so that's just the reaping and sowing of that. And I just want to encourage you that is a great way to get your breakthrough in those areas. And I don't mean a fake way. I mean a real way. People who really are encouraging you and pressing you forward in your walk, like reach out to them and just let them know I'd love to hear from you guys and hear what you're interested in talking about. If you have questions, I am going to spend this next week. We've got some great friends here in town, and I want to do a little podcast with a guest coming up. And we'd love some questions. So if you guys have any questions for some women that are in ministry and you want to know some more things, just reach out to me real fast because we're going to be doing it this week. So give me some information and be looking for that to come out in the next couple of weeks. We're really excited about that. I love you guys so much. If you're blessed by the podcast, please jump on Supernatural Living with Beth Packard on Facebook. You can share some feedback there. You can donate if this has blessed you. Sowing a seed into a ministry that blesses you is a great way to reap as well, and to just sow into the harvest and what we are working on and doing. It's just an incredible way to honor people and honor what God's doing in them. And so I encourage you to do that with those that you love and that are teaching you to go ahead and sow into that. And I just thank you in advance, those of you who already are sowing into what I'm doing here with this ministry and what Aaron and I are doing with our ministry here at the church. We just love you guys so much, and we just bless you. You can follow us, our church, at gatheringrevivalcenter.com or on Facebook as well. And I also have a website, bethpackard.com. You can donate there. You can see some of the different things that we're doing and the missions that we're working on. We would love to hear from you and just connect with you there. I hope you are blessed. Lord, I just thank you for an amazing week for everyone that's listening. I just thank you that they will reach out, that you will give them the courage and the strength to reach out to those who have been inspiring them and pressing them on and encouraging them in their walk, that they would have strength and the courage to reach out to them and just bless them back and honor them. In Jesus' name. I love you guys. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to hearing from you.